All right, so it's August 17th, Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm just going to react to a couple of things that transpired this past week within the NBA world. First off, I gotta react to Russell Westbrook calling it a career after 18 seasons in the league. He announced it several days ago via social media with a video narrated by Michael B. Jordan. And this came as a surprise to just about everybody, shock even. Nobody thought that Russ's career was going to come to an end. And I know a lot of people probably thought that he didn't have any potential suitors for his services. But reports did come out that the Wizards were interested in the reunion, as well as the Sacramento Kings wanted to retain him. And I'm assuming that they wanted to help, rather, they wanted him to assist with the development of Darius Acuff, as you know, he was drafted recently, and he's going to be their point guard of the future. So I think they wanted to keep Russ around to be somewhat of a mentor figure for him. But Russell Westbrook elected to step away from the game of basketball. No doubt, future first ballot Hall of Famer. I believe he'll be eligible. His first year eligibility will be in 2029. He will get in. We look at a guy who is has a decorated resume, along with a league MVP award, and also is the all-time leader in triple doubles, currently with 209. He did make the 75th anniversary team. He is definitely a top 75 player in the NBA of all time, because you cannot tell the history of the league without mentioning one Russell Westbrook. The guy who did in his MVP campaign was the first player since Oscar Robertson to record a triple double. Feat that we thought we would never see, and if we seen it, we would think it would be more of the lines of a guy like a Jason Kidd, who will probably put up 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. But Russell Westbrook actually did it with like 30, 10, and 10 on the season. Um, so that was just an incredible Herculean feat that you can't really deny. Russ is just really, really loved by his peers. I mean, we've seen the outpour from the players in the NBA, just showing love to Russ and saluting him on an amazing career, including one Kevin Durant, who was his teammate in OKC for about 7, 8 seasons there, and he like saluted him as well. It just kind of reminds you, man, that we're getting old. Seeing guys like him, D Rose, John Wall, Chris Paul no longer in the league. It's really a new era that we are set to enter in. And I mean, we still have Steph, who's playing still at an all-star, all-NBA caliber level, but I mean, he has more years behind him than he has ahead of him in this league. That's just a fact. So it's really just kind of crazy when you think about it. But yeah, I mean, I see why people love Russ so much. I mean, he is a guy who plays hard night in, night out, gets 110% effort. Did he on every given night? Was just is he had like this kinetic energy that was just like so electrifying, and that had you mesmerized that you had to watch him play. He wore his emotion on his sleeve. And I think that a lot of people just gravitated to like with the way he approached the game, the fearlessness that he played with, the relentless attack to the basket and everything. The highlight reels and putting like guys on posters night in and night out. A lot of people love that. He's like what we loved at the NBA that a lot of us loved growing up. Because you see a lot of people now complaining about the league, how it's 2-3 point centric. A lot of guys are buddy buddy. There's no real like tension, animosity between players and everything, that we don't have that in the league anymore. And that is kind of turned off a lot of people to the product. Russ was the complete opposite of that. He like represented what we loved about the NBA growing up. So I think that's why a lot of people like gravitated towards him. And it's like superhero efforts that he displayed night in, night out in the league. Now, Russ is again, while I did say he is a top 75 player of all time, there are some downsides to his game. As we know, he has been criticized by a lot of people. I shouldn't even say a lot of people in the media. It's really just some, but the biggest voice I would say would be like one Skip Bayless, referring to him as Westbrook and getting mad at him for taking shots away from Kevin Durant during their time playing together in the OKC, and him just like constantly forcing the issue and being prone to high turnovers and bad shot selections and everything. And he is just like he's the anti-analytics player. Like if you are really big onto analytics and you're using that as your metrics to like rate a basketball player or like determine that said player's value to a team, that you are not going to rock up Russell Westbrook because he is just doesn't favor analytic basketball. He is just like the complete polar opposite. So yes, Russ, as I mentioned, he is great, but he was still somewhat of a flawed player. Um, and I do think that there was like three moments, uh, or moments, um, or times, how I want to describe it, that really like hurt him. I want to say hurt his overall legacy, but like really like put a dent into the way that that many perceived him in basketball. The first I would say would have to be the 2020 12 NBA Finals. That's when a young Oklahoma City Thunder team reached the NBA Finals and were going up against the Miami Heat, the big three with Braun, Wade, Bosch, and everything, the Heatles. And the Heatles had just come off um, they had just come off an underwhelming finals performance as they did lose to the Dallas Mavericks in the year prior in the NBA Finals. So a lot of people did actually have Oklahoma City favored to win this series. And that didn't happen as they did lose in 5 games to the Thunder. I meant to the Heat. They did win game 1 and then got swept right after. So essentially a gentleman's sweep. Now, I remember in one of the games, I believe it was game 4, when Russ had about a 43-point game. And I just remember Magic Johnson stating that that was the worst half of basketball he's ever seen from a point guard in NBA Finals history. This is back on the broadcast of the NBA Finals at halftime, on the halftime show. He did say that. And yeah, that was just like, and then a lot of people were just trying to like really start to nitpick Russell Westbrook at this point because you're on the NBA, you're on the brightest stage in the NBA. All eyeballs are on you now, so you're starting to see a lot of people coming at started to like really nitpick Russ's game and everything. And like yeah, and you have Magic Johnson, who's like recognized as the greatest point guard of all time to many people, come out and make that declaration that that was like the worst half he's ever seen a point guard playing in NBA Finals history. I don't think that really did Russ any favors going forward. And Russ's stats, I went back to look at his stats in the NBA Finals. I mean, he did average 27 points a game, 6.4 rebounds a game, about close to 7 assists per game. He did shoot 43% from the field while committing just over 2 turnovers a game. But I'm gonna give Russ. I'm gonna defend Russ in this situation, right? That was a very young Oklahoma City Thunder team. I think that they were about a year or two ahead of schedule. I mean, Kevin Durant was in his 5th season, so Russ was in his 4th. James Harden was in his 3rd. These guys didn't really have real experience, didn't really suffer enough heartbreak. This is very similar to what we've seen this past year with the San Antonio Spurs reaching the NBA Finals against the New York Knicks, and the Knicks were able to win in 5. And those games could have easily went in the favor of the San Antonio Spurs had it not been for the inexperience on their side. That was very much the case back in 2012. And then we can't forget about James Harden's just like disappearing after he put on display in the NBA Finals, because I have been saying if Harden played, who at the time was a 6th man of the year, did win that award, if he had played up to his standards in that finals. I'm not saying they beat the Heat. I still think the Heat will win, but it probably goes 6, maybe even 7 if he plays to his standards, but he didn't. So you couple that with the fact that OKC was an inexperienced team, they were doomed. They weren't ready to win. They had to go through the heartache just like LeBron did in '07 against the San Antonio Spurs. Um, and it looked like, hey, this team is going to be the team of the future at that point. You had a young KD, young Westbrook, young Harden, who weren't even in their prime yet. And we all thought that they were going to have like more cracks at it for several years to come. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, as the Thunder did elect to move on from James Harden on that offseason. So we didn't get to see what that big three can do going forward, if they would be able to redeem themselves. So I give Russ I come to Russ defense in that case a lot because hey, based on this based on those situations that I mentioned, of course, like they weren't just ready to win the title yet. The other moment I think that would that hurt like the perception of Westbrook too was Kevin Durant electing to sign with the Golden State Warriors in free agency in the summer of 2016. That was a that is still, I think, one of the craziest moves by a free agent in NBA history because Kevin Durant at that point was top 3 in the NBA, top 3 player in the league. His team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, along with his co-star Russell Westbrook, did make the conference finals and lost in 7 games after blowing a 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors. So Kevin Durant elects to move on from the Oklahoma City Thunder and join the same squad that eliminated him like a month or 2 months earlier. That was just mind-boggling what happened, and I think that why that really like put a dent in the possession of Brody is because a lot of people are just looking at it like, wow, like even like Kevin Durant like was never really saying anything, but a lot of people just came to the conclusion in their own mind that he knows that he can't win with Russell Westbrook as his point guard and everything, and he just like proved them right by electing to leave the Thunder and go to the Warriors. I was like I said, I wasn't a fan of that move. I don't not the fact that he left OKC. Kevin Durant, he is a free agent. He fulfilled his duty to the Thunder. He was there for like 7, 8 seasons. He had the right to leave that team if he felt that it was the best. It was best for his basketball career to do that. I just thought that it was just like kind of like crazy that he went to a team like the Golden State Warriors, who already won a championship, won 73 games, were like within 4 minutes of being back-to-back champions, and elect to go there to the same team that defeated you in the Western Conference Finals. That was my whole issue with that move. So yeah, he could have let Russell Westbrook, but I think that a lot of people use that as to like further support their case of the type of player that Russell Westbrook is, that he's a ball hog, he's inefficient, you can't win with him on your team, he's not a team player and everything. That helped feed like that crowd who takes that stance. I thought that was like really bad for Russ. But I'm gonna come to Russ's defense again. In the case that series in Game 7, I'm sorry, that Western Conference Finals in 2016, I mentioned that they were up 3-1. They had them beat. Game 6 with Clay went crazy in Game 6 to like force it to a Game 7. Like Russ and KD were equally terrible down the stretch of that Game 6. Like just turnovers and missed shots and everything between both of them on the last like 5 to 6 minutes of the game. It was like there was like equal blame to be passed around between those two. And then in Game 7, I thought that, and going at the Oracle, I thought Kevin Durant was just waited too long to be aggressive. Like he waited to like late in the third, thought the fourth quarter to be aggressive, where he should have had that mentality like from tip off and everything. So I thought that he he should be like criticized just as much as Russell Westbrook for allowing the Golden State Warriors to come back from 3-1 and advance to the NBA Finals. That's how I always felt like that. So I didn't like the fact that people were like taking that on Russ too, because I mean I look at Russ's stats. I mean, yes, his stats weren't the best. Well, he did have in that Western Conference Finals in 2016, he did average just under 27 points a game, 7 rebounds, just over 3 assists per game, 39%. He shot just under 40% from the field goal, from the field rather, and he did shoot just under 32% from three, and averaged 4 turnovers a game. That yeah, so yeah, he wasn't really inefficient in that series. I get that, but at the same time, like Kevin, they were in position, all that they were still in position to get back to the NBA Finals for the second time in their career at that point. That duo, and potentially win an NBA championship for the first time in the franchise history at that point, but that didn't happen. And I think Kevin Durant like deserves blame too as well, as I mentioned, for his play in Game 6, down the stretch of Game 6, and then for the majority of Game 7 being passive and not like really like being asserting himself offensively. So again, I defend Russell Westbrook in that scenario all the time. And the last one, the nail in the coffin, I think, for the perception of Russell Westbrook, the negative perception of Russ that a lot of people hold, it has to be him signing with the Lakers, or rather, him being traded to the Lakers in 2021. That didn't just didn't make sense. Why the Lakers would elect to trade for Russell Westbrook at that time, because the Lakers did in exchange for Russell Westbrook, they traded Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and a 2022 pick in the 2021 draft. Being a Lakers fan, I was frustrated just for the fact that I knew that Russ was not an ideal fit to play along with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, because Russ needs the basketball to be effective in his hands. You're not taking the basketball out of LeBron James' hands, right? So that was already going to be a disaster in that department. And the fact that Russ can't shoot. He's not a shooter. LeBron has played best throughout his entire career. He's been at his best when he's been surrounded by marksmen and guys who can help spread the floor, that opens up the lane for him, and then he's able to kick out with his passing ability and find shooters. That's not Russell Westbrook's game. So I was just, why are they even trying to trade for Russ? And man, the Lakers were that in that season leading into the 2021-2022 campaign, they finished 33-49 and missed the playoffs. And a lot of people had heat for Russell Westbrook. I mean, the California, LA rather, native, going back to the team that he loved as a kid, and they weren't receptive to him just because of his inefficiencies and everything. And they would like ask, like, got so bad to the point that they were like saying, "Don't shoot." Once he got the basketball and he was wide open, because Russ just couldn't hit anything. Even that mid range that used to be automatic for him over the years just failed him. I think his confidence was really shot, and I'm not gonna criticize him because there's just like, it's LA. It's the second biggest media market in the country. You're playing for the Lakers, the premier brand in the NBA. So much expectations, crazy heavy expectations. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who thought that Russ could be the missing piece for a championship to go along with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I know better. He doesn't fit with them. It's not about him. It's about fit, the basketball fit. It didn't make sense at the time. And I just seen a lot of people were just like really piling on Russ, and just like ridiculing him and everything. You know, um, Skip Bayless was taking it up even a few more notches, which is crazy considering how hard he was on Westbrook prior to his stint with the Lakers. So yeah, I think that really hurt too, and the fact that he's playing with LeBron James, and you know how let's be real, when it, not saying that LeBron James and his crew are a part of this, but we all know there's a pattern that goes on with LeBron James. When players are playing with LeBron James and they fail to be successful, a lot of times the media points the finger at the supporting cast, not at LeBron James. So of course, in that situation, Russ was going to face a lot of scrutiny, and he did. I think that that was like the nail in the coffin for those who already had like a negative perception of Russell Westbrook. That just cemented it right there. His stint with the Lakers, but again, I thought it was a bad fit from the start. I know that LeBron and Anthony Davis were pushing for it. I'm like, that makes sense because any GM with a brain knows that it doesn't fit in the basketball sense. Those pieces, it was a misfit, but they wanted to, we're in the era of player empowerment, and guys like LeBron have a lot of influence, and they tend to get their ways more times than not. And that's why the move was made to satisfy their superstar, like the Lakers brand has done over the years and everything. So he wanted Russ, they got Russ, and it was a disaster. But to be honest, he shouldn't have went to that team to begin with. So those are the three moments that I think really like hurt Russ. Um, for the I'm talking about his image from a negative standpoint. Those who always wanted to like pick on him and just put him down. Like those three moments gave them a lot of ammunition to continue their attack on Russ. So I did mention I think that Russ is definitely a top 75 player of all time, but where does he rank among the all-time guards, point guards in the NBA? I think this can be controversial to a lot of people, but not to me. I can tell you right now, point guards in NBA history that I have ranked above Russ. I'm not going to put a guy like Havlicek, who wasn't in the modern era of the NBA. I'm just going to go off guys who played in the modern era of the NBA. Magic, Steph, Oscar, Isaiah, Stockton, Kidd, Peyton, CP3. All those guys I have ahead of Russ all time point guards. And honestly, I'm thinking, but I've listed this player as honorable mention, but I think you know what? I think I've seen enough to say that I would put him above Russ all time as well. That would be one SGA, Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Now he's kind of tricky because like this is what I kind of hate too. Now that we've had this era of point guard where it's more like you're including combo guards in that ranking, like a Steph Curry. I don't consider Steph Curry to be a point guard. I think he's more of a combo guard, but hey, he just played the point position. And like SGA, I think SGA is more of a two guard, but he plays the point for the Thunder. So it's kind of hard. Like, what do I rank those guys all time in the all time point guard list when I put them against guys who are really traditional, pure point guards, like a CP3, like a Jason Kidd? But yeah, I mean, SGA does have two league MVPs on his resume, along with the championship and Finals MVP. I think that that's enough for me to put him above Russ. So I will put SGA in that on that list too of guys that would take above Russ. Now you're probably thinking, well, yeah, well Russ got a triple double. He's way more athletic. He has better numbers and everything. But when I think about point guard, this is just me. So I mentioned, yes, there are guys who are combo guards that are considered point guards, like a Steph, like an SGA. But for me, it's always going to be when it comes to being a point guard, can I trust you in pivotal spots in crucial games to make the right play and to execute efficiently? What I mean by that is whether it be a pass, rebound, locking in on defense. Can I like really trust you that you are going to execute and put the team in the best position to win? And I just think that those guys I would trust way more than Russell Westbrook. Not a knock on Russ, but he is prone to turnovers, head scratching shots. He just sometimes like doesn't really slow down. It's like he plays at one speed all the time, and that is to him and his team's detriment. I think we've seen that play out and everything. And I think that those guys, I think if I was to start a team, to draft a team, those players that I mentioned that I take above, those guards, those point guards, I should say, that I mentioned that I would take above Russ, they would put me in a better position to win because it's easier to build a team around them, around their strengths, around their deficiencies. It would be a lot easier to build a team around them than it would be one Russell Westbrook. Russ is kind of like AI to me in that department. When AI went to the NBA Finals, and he dragged the team to the NBA Finals, and a lot of people like always say, "Hey, you know what? He played with a lot of bums, whatever." I'm like, yeah, you know what? It was the way that the team was structured. It was structured around Allen Iverson because he was so ball dominant that he just had to have a lot of specialists around him who would like either shoot or play defense to help like mask his deficiencies and to play off his strengths. So I think that Russ is like in that department with me when it comes to AI because I always felt like it's kind of hard to build a team around AI, and that's the same with how I feel with Russ. I didn't even mention Luca in that on that list too. Now that I'm thinking about it, because technically, well, I mean, they list him as a point guard. He plays the point guard position, but I just look at him like a LeBron James. Like he's really more like a forward. So I don't know if I would really consider him to be a point guard. But if I was to consider him a point guard, I would take him over um, Russ too. Because we can't forget too. As much as we all love Russ, post KD era in Oklahoma City, he hasn't he didn't get past the first round, being the best player on a team. He got past the first round once, which was with the Rockets in the bubble, but Harden was the best player on the team. He You can argue whether he had the necessary pieces to get to make a deep playoff run and everything, but facts are facts. He just didn't do it. Being the best player, being the MVP of the league in his prime, he failed to accomplish that. So I take that into consideration when ranking Russ. Now, in terms of all-time Thunder, I would say I think the top three Oklahoma City Thunder players of all time has to be at three. I put Kevin Durant. At two, I put Russell Westbrook. And number one, I'd put SGA. Now, let's not get it twisted. I think that all time Kevin Durant is ranked above Russell Westbrook all time. I'm just taking into consideration just the fact that Russ was played in Oklahoma City longer than KD did. He left. The divorce wasn't toxic, so he left on good terms. Unlike Kevin Durant, and he was won an MVP just like Kevin Durant in there in a stint. He became he averaged a triple double for a season in OKC. I think actually he did it like 3 or 4 times in OKC. So that's going to make me put him above Kevin Durant on the all-time Thunder list. And why I'd have SGA ranked above Russ is the fact that he hasn't been there as long as Russ has yet, or has he? I don't think he has yet. But he does have 2 league MVPs in the Oklahoma City Thunder uniform. He does have an NBA championship and an NBA Finals in the uniform. And yeah, he's probably going to be there for the next several years. And I think he's going to add some more hardware to that resume. So that's why I have Shea ranked above Russ for number one on the all-time Thunders list. Chris Broussard made a good point too last week. And we talked about, he was supporting Russ and him and his place in history, him being the all-time leader in triple doubles, him being the first player to average a triple double since the Big O. He made a good point though. The fact now, because I mentioned earlier that Russ is at 209, right? Triple doubles all time. Nikola Jokic, who's averaged a triple double like the last few 2 to 3 seasons, he's accomplished that feat as well. So it kind of takes away the mystique of Russ accomplishing that. And he's only Nikola Jokic, I believe, is at trying to look right now. I believe is at 198 for 198. That's career triple double. So he's well within striking distance. He could very well pass Russ next season for to be number one. So that does kind of take that mystique. If he was able to hold that record for like, I don't know, let's say as long as Kareem held the all-time scoring record, it would really go a long way into validating that feat and putting Russ on this like Mount Everest type pedestal in basketball with that feat. But now Nikola Jokic is going to surpass him, I believe will be this season, and that it kind of takes away from that. But still, you can't tell the story of the NBA without mentioning the one Russell Westbrook, guy who was a fearless ultra competitor, the most athletic point guard in NBA history. Derrick Rose was the only one who ever came close, in my opinion. But yeah, Russ has done it, who left it all on the court every night in, night out. And now he gets to go right off into the sunset. And I'm sure he's going to do great work within his community and give back to the game. So salute to the Brody, Russell Westbrook, on his retirement. The NBA will miss you. All right. And the other bit of news I wanted to touch on was the Lakers selling again. Sold for there have been an agreement in place to sell the Lakers for a record-breaking $12.5 billion. For $12.5 billion. Mark Walter, owner of the Dodgers, bought the Lakers, and the sale went through last October, and now he just flipped it like it's a crib, and selling to businessmen, one by the name of Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Kushner is the owner of Five Capital and is the co-founder and vice president of Oscar, also the brother of Jared Kushner, who happens to be the son-in-law of the current president, Donald Trump. And Bob Iger is the former CEO of Disney, which ESPN owns. So these guys got deep pockets. So reportedly, they wanted to make a play for expansion team in Vegas. But instead, they decided to pivot and approach Walter if he would be interested in selling the franchise, and he did. Yeah, that is just insane. I just can't believe it because we don't see that usually in sports. Now, it is worth noting that the sale cannot go through until there needs to be an approval from the NBA Board of Governors. But the next meeting is set to take place, I believe, in September. I wrote down October, but I'm pretty sure it's September. I was looking forward to see what Lakership would be like under new stewardship with Walter, owner of the Dodgers, who are the envy of all in Major League Baseball, with their dominance and their ability to just take advantage of the salary cap or lack thereof in Major League Baseball and everything, and just put forth like the best team possible, and they are winning at a high clips. And I thought that I was really interested to see if he would be able to bring some of that to the Lakers, like the scouting, the drafting, the development. Would he be able to like bring that system and put it in place for the Lakers to put them in best position to achieve to achieve at the highest level? Because let's be honest, the Lakers, ever since Jerry Buss, the late great Jerry Buss, has passed, life in LA hasn't been the same. Hard years with Kobe winding down in his prime, to post Kobe years where they just couldn't, couldn't attract stars or trying to build through the draft and everything. Then summer 2018, LeBron elects to sign with the Lakers. LeBron comes here, they're able to win a championship in the bubble in 2020. Some more turbulence going on, some reported calm frustration between the Lakers and LeBron's camp and everything. Then they secure the services of Luka Doncic in a in a in a in a just in a just shocking blockbuster trade that we have never seen before. That being Luka Doncic getting traded to the LA Lakers. That just happened like in the middle of the night. So that was crazy. So now the Lakers, I was just looking forward to see how would they like, it's been and that it's officially now the Luka Doncic era where LeBron has moved on, signed with the Sixers and everything. And I was just trying to see how that would how that would look, like how would that look under the ownership of the Dodgers. I had hopes for them that they would be able to like bring this franchise back to the consistency that Laker fans were accustomed to under like Jerry Buss and everything, and not like this roller coaster ride that we've seen under Jeannie Buss's leadership, Jerry's daughter, obviously. So now it's turned over yet again, and I believe I heard that this is like the fifth owner that Luka Doncic will play for, which is kind of crazy. He's only been in the league for like what, I think he's going to his ninth season, and already five owners he's going to play for. That's insane. It's not really normal, but I was looking forward to that. So I don't know much about Bob Iger. I know Bob Iger is an avid sports fan. Like this was been a passion of his to own a sports team and everything. So I just a little shocked about that, and but that didn't take place. I don't see that it's not going to be approved by the NBA Board of Governors. That there could be some conflict there. I mean, I know people are talking that allegedly Walter was under investigation, federal investigation, which which is why he considered and actually went through with the agreement of selling the franchise and everything. So I don't think that there's going to be any pushback from the NBA. I just know that they probably don't want to see that trend happening where franchises are being purchased and then flipped like it's real estate and everything. I don't think that they want to see that trend happening. That I'm sure of. But at the same time, I do not see this not getting approved by the NBA Board of Governors. So I'm waiting on to see how that's going to look. Um, all right, and before I'll close the podcast by saluting those to the that were inducted to the Hall of Fame, the class of 2026, headlined by the likes of Amari Stoudemire, Doc Rivers, and Candace Parker. Just my thought on the NBA, on the Basketball Hall of Fame, because it is called the Basketball Hall of Fame, and that's actually good that I caught myself there, because that's what I was going to get into. I see a lot of every year. I think people always look at the MB, the Hall of Fame inductees and everything, and sometimes it's like there's some that get in, and that people like are like scratching their heads and trying to figure out how did they get in. They're not Hall of Fame worthy and everything. People, you have to remember this is not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Basketball Hall of Fame. What that means is that your collegiate career, your professional career, your international career, your Olympic career, all of that is taken into consideration when it's time to decide who gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, I've seen Amari Stoudemire, and I think he made about like six All Stars and five All NBA teams, and people are looking at it like it's not enough. Yeah, but he did play basketball in Israel as well and was decorated there. He did win Rookie of the Year as well, and I believe even your high school career is taken into consideration too. I believe so. I can't confirm that, but if it is, he was great in high school as well too. So of course he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. Like I think that the NBA, I do think, needs to make its own Hall of Fame, like the NBA Hall of Fame. I think that would do a lot um, in terms of like not confusing or like having people like act like somebody isn't worthy to be in the Hall of Fame when clearly they are. I think the league should do that. Look into that. Get their own Hall of Fame. The guys can still go into the Basketball Hall of Fame, but the league should have their own Hall of Fame just to like stop all this confusion going on and the slandering that we're seeing online and try to downplay somebody's career when these guys are like the best of the best in the world. Um, yeah, it's just a little ridiculous. I just wish that it would stop. So yeah, NBA, fix that, please. Please make your own Hall of Fame. I don't care how long it takes, but start the groundwork now. So yes, again, salute to everybody who had made the Hall of Fame, the class of 2026.